Ukraine. Joining me right now, Democratic Congresswoman Sherry Bustos of Illinois. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Adrian.
For being here and coming into our studios. You have a big job. You're also a member of the House Appropriations Subcommittee on Defense. First, I've got to ask you, have you heard any intelligence about Ukraine capturing these Russian prisoners of war and any advancements that they've made that the U.S. would be paying attention to?
We're getting briefed later today. Members of Congress are. I've been in classified briefings leading up to this point. And, of course, President Biden is addressing the nation around noon today as well. So we'll learn more as the day proceeds. But, you know, I think what we're seeing here right now is this unprovoked attack on Ukraine. Ukraine, all they want is to be a democracy. And so Vladimir Putin has attacked, is now killing civilians. And I think we've got some long days ahead to see what's going to happen and see what the consequences are.
And when we talk about the sanctions, as Nick just illustrated on our smart board, the fact is Putin does not seem to be in any way intimidated by word of sanctions. Is there anything that we can do as a U.S. country that everyone knows is a superpower to deter him? Where can we hit him where it hurts if sanctions aren't enough?
Well, the economy in Russia is not a strong economy. Where they're strong is in their military, and they've got their 200,000-ish troops surrounding Ukraine right now, invading Ukraine. But their economy is not strong. When his people are feeling the effects of these sanctions, that will get stronger and stronger and stronger as Vladimir Putin continues to do damage to Ukraine. His people are going to feel that. But I think the message at home, though, is, in a sense, it's a little bit of rallying around the flagpole. We need to, as a nation, show that same unity as our allies are showing with America right now. What I don't want to see, I work in Washington, D.C. when I'm not home in Illinois representing my district, is I don't want to see the divisions between party, because it is always country over party. And we need to, at this point, rally around making sure that we're united in what our response is to this.
We spoke earlier with Congressman Bill Johnson, who echoed the same sentiment and said, you know, it's really important to talk this through as a country and to be unified, just as we've been seeing. I guess I'm calling it the silver lining of all of this, is how fortified the relationship seems to be between NATO allies and the U.S. Do you think that there could be some good that comes out of this?
Well, that does not happen without a lot of work. President Biden and his team have been working like this with our allies. And, but this is very early in the process. I think to your question about what do we need to do, we need to make sure that we stick together with our allies. And that ongoing dialogue is happening. But again, at home, and I'm glad to hear, I'm a Democrat from downstate Illinois. Johnson is a Republican. I'm glad to hear him say that. And as it pertains to social media, tweets, et cetera, let's make sure that we're sticking with that as well. This is a moment, if there is any good to come out of this, I hope it is that we are united as Democrats and Republicans, that we are putting our nation over anything else. This is about democracy and making sure that we preserve democracy to the best of our ability. That is what Ukraine, if Vladimir Putin sees a crime in Ukraine, it's that they want to be a democratic nation. They want to strengthen their democracy. And that is, Putin sees that as a crime. We have to stop him from doing any damage to democracies.
What if Russia decides to touch the soil of NATO nations like Poland, Lithuania, any number of our allies? What would the U.S. be forced to do next?
Well, that's a what if. Let's hope that it doesn't get to that. President Biden has been very clear that he is not going to send American troops into Ukraine. But you know, if you're a NATO country, we are united in making sure that we are there for NATO countries. But that's a what if. It's a very scary what if, and I hope that we won't have to deal with that.
But you certainly have to think about it. I mean, as far as preparations go, as far as being proactive goes, that's certainly something that, scary or not, has entered into your mind, I would think.
Well, you know, I mean, we know what it means to be part of NATO, and that's we look out for each other. That is where we are unified. So we've got to do the best we can through these severe sanctions. Your reporter did a very good job of laying out what that means. And that is going to continue to ramp up as long as Vladimir Putin is ramping up his attacks on Ukraine.
would there be any benefit, or would there be any reason for the president to actually enforce stricter sanctions, not so subsequently, step by step, but maybe offer a stronger sanction package right now, immediately, as a sign of force?
What President Biden won't do, and I'm confident in saying this, is he's not going to go it alone at all. He's having the conversation with our allies today. And so as sanctions ramp up, it is going to be in a unified fashion. Keep in mind that it is Europe that will feel the effects of these sanctions more than the United States. But what we'll see at home, could see at home, is rising gas prices. We already know.
Happening.
I live in a smaller town, a town of about 40,000 people. Our gas there is about $3.69 a gallon. When I came up here to Chicago today, saw that it's close to $4 a gallon now. Your home state of California, they're close to $5. So that is what we are going to see, and I think part of it is bracing for that. But let's keep in mind, when we do go to the gas pump, and it is painful, and I know it's hard to shell out more money on that, or when we go to the grocery stores, but let's keep in mind that we are protecting democracy in this. That is what this is about. We know this is, far away from us from a miles perspective, but this is about protecting democracy and not allowing a leader like Vladimir Putin to continue to spread his authoritarian ways.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are sitting here wondering, is this going to be war? And how can we prevent war from touching our land in any way? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Adrienne,
for having the time here. We really appreciate it. And of course, we've been talking continuously with our own Leland Vittert, who joins us once again this morning. We have to get to a lot of questions here, Leland, but you and I spoke just briefly about the cyber elements in regards to Russia's forms of attack, their strategy of attack. What is the precedent for the kinds of cyber attacks that we're seeing in Ukraine right now?
They've tried to do everything they can to shut down the Ukrainian infrastructure, critical infrastructure. So the Russians will be attacking power plants, attacking any kinds of financial institutions, attacking the government itself, attacking the military. The bigger threat when it comes to cyber warfare is what the Russians might do in the United States. Remember, they shut down the Colonial Pipeline last year and caused fuel shortages on the East Coast. And the real fear is if sanctions, and I say that as an if, are put against the Russians in a way that's meaningful, they will attack with cyber warfare, not only against the United States, but against NATO. And now all of a sudden we have a ball game. It was interesting listening to the Congresswoman because she failed to answer some really basic questions, which is, what is the administration going to do to change Vladimir Putin's calculus? And the answer, as sad as it is they don't really have an answer. You can talk about crippling sanctions, but there's not an appetite among the Europeans right now for the type of sanctions against Russia that could really make a meaningful difference. And I'm not really sure where the White House thinks that they're going to change the calculus of a man who's threatened to use nuclear weapons. The clear-eyed thinking that we would expect at this moment coming out of the White House and the Defense Department and the State Department seems to be much more about allowing Vladimir Putin to take over Ukraine and saying it's going to happen than actually preventing it from happening. I was struck by really sort of the candor that if Vladimir Putin wants to continue all the way to the Polish border across all of Ukraine, there's really not a lot the United States can or is willing to do about it.
Well, the Congresswoman is still sitting right here in studio with this, so I wanted to give her the opportunity to maybe speak to this. I mean, why not? We're all here. Leland was just talking about the fact that we don't see the kind of strength from our NATO allies to impose the kinds of sanctions that would appear to be a threat to Vladimir Putin. What would you say in response to that? I wanted to give you that chance.
Well, I think what Germany did with the Nord Stream pipeline was exceeded our expectations. And again, we are very early in this. I know there were some people wanted to criticize President Biden for not being strong enough, and that criticism literally came within hours of President Biden imposing sanctions. We are very early on this. The sanctions will be equivalent. They will match the severity of what Putin is doing. But no, I actually think that our NATO allies have exceeded our expectations on that. I know that's a different view than what was just reported, but to jump on the Nord Stream pipeline and almost immediately was a really good move and showed our alliance together.
Yeah, thank you. I wanted
Yes.
to